Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on three. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack. Today's interview with Glen Henry involves discussions of child abuse and suicidal ideation. Please be warned if those topics are difficult for you. Enjoy this excellent conversation with Glen Henry. Hello, and welcome to Fresh Take from What Fresh Hell, Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. This is Margaret.
And this is Amy. Today, we're talking to Glen Henry. He is the creative force behind the beloved YouTube channel Belief in Fatherhood, where he champions positive parenting and redefines what modern fatherhood looks like. Beyond YouTube, Glen connects with audiences through social media, workshops, and speaking engagements, encouraging dads to show up with love, purpose, and presence. Glen has become a leading advocate for strong families and meaningful father-child relationships. Today, we'll be discussing his new book, Father Yourself First. Welcome, Glen.
Thank you so much for having me.
So the first chapter of your book is called I Never Wanted to Be a Father.
Yeah.
So start there and talk to us. It's so interesting that now you have a book about fathering, a social presence all about fathering. So take us to why that is the title of your first chapter.
So I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland with a single mother. My mother lived by herself with me and my little brother. And then my father lived in California across the country. And one thing I got for sure was that being a parent was inconvenient. There was just so much that had to go into communicating with the child's father or mother. I had to keep quiet. I had to stay in the child's place. It just didn't seem like I belonged in the house. I was just something to tolerate. And I got that message early. But once I started to get a little bit older in that teenage area, my friends started having kids. And it was like the death sentence. You know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, you're going to be stuck with this person for the rest of your life. You're going to have this kid. Your life is over. You suck. Ha ha. But let me know if you need anything. And so once we got to that point, I kind of just was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. That's stupid. Why would I give my life away? Until I saw proof of good fatherhood. Another man let me inside his house. He was a youth pastor at a church and almost one of the youth leaders. And he just allowed me to come over and hang out. He had 5 daughters, and I expected such a different home than what I experienced. I saw harmony. Everyone seemed like they belonged. There was like a comfort, and no one was like out of order, you know? And I'm not trying to say that they weren't misbehaving, but even their misbehavior was allowed. And I just felt that, oh, I could do that. Like I could create that space. And I actually want that space for me. And so that was the first time I was like, okay, I think I can do this.
I saw another social media content creator recently talk about what it is like to be a living room parent when you grew up as a bedroom child. And what she was talking about was how when you grew up feeling like the only place that you could really be safe to be who you were was in your own room. And
That's
then
right.
to be parenting differently and have kids who can be who they are all over your whole house and be living room kids is kind of a strange experience as a parent, but also deeply rewarding because you're creating just what you were saying, that space where everybody can be who they are.
Yeah, my wife and I both are bedroom kids with living room kids. They love to be around us. They love to be in the same room for now. You know, I know things kind of change when they get a little older, But we often are trying to be like, okay, well, can you guys go, or are you guys going to just sit here for a minute?
I mean, we could use a couple minutes of bedroom children. We don't want you to live there, but you could visit.
There's a point where sometimes my wife and I will just sit and be talking or doing our podcast, and our daughter will just sit down and just watch us. I think the issue in my mind is that I've never experienced that type of desire. So I have a hard time figuring out what to do with it. You know what I mean? I'm like, would you like something? Are you hungry? What do you need? And she's like, no, I just want to sit here and watch. And that right there, that's a beautiful thing that I didn't really get to see that. But here's why this is important. We are proving to her what it looks like to walk out difficult seasons, to have hard conversations. She gets a front row view of that. But the challenge I say in the book is that there's power in proof. So if we want to see lives change, if we want to see marriages change, if we want to see family restored and kids be accepted for who they are, you kind of got to show that. You're going to have to allow people in your home. You're going to have to allow people from your neighborhood in your home. I'm not saying you got to start a YouTube channel or, be popping on social media, but there is a level of uncomfortability that you are going to have to walk out. And I see a lot of pastors talk a lot from a stage or a pulpit, but I don't know how they actively live out those truths that they speak on. So it's really hard to imagine, even if I look at Jesus, the disciples were able to walk with him. They saw what life looked like. They saw how the ungodly was treated. They saw how the Pharisees were treated. They saw it, so they knew what to do. And so what we get is this very polished, clean look at what we hope you think it looks like, not what it actually is. And so I refuse to let another generation walk into fatherhood that blind without knowing the truth about, dang, like fatherhood really does change you. It changes everything about who you are, your whole DNA. And so I wanted to shed that light. And so that was the point of making the YouTube channel and a lot of the processes I talked about in the book.
I've heard an expression a lot, and it is preach the gospel, use words if absolutely necessary.
Right.
And it's like, that's kind of what you're getting at, right? Like you're preaching fatherhood to a certain degree, but anybody can say anything about being a parent. We have a podcast, we say a lot about being a parent.
Yeah.
But you talk about the need for community and mentorship because it's what you see happening versus anybody can tell you, kids in France, they eat everything and they stay up till midnight. They never complain about food. It's like, that doesn't really apply to the life that I happen to be living in my house. I want to see what's happening, how people are executing this role, because it's more complicated than just saying the words.
You're preaching anyway, whether you speak or not. Everything you do, you're preaching it, right? You are showing proof of what you believe. This was kind of brought to a head when George Floyd died. George Floyd was murdered in 2020. So when that happened, my wife and I had a really tough decision. Our son, I remember when I was 8, I would always wave at the police. And then when I turned 8, they stopped waving back. Eventually, I started to look a little bit grown or like somebody that would be a problem. And so I remember that. And my son was around this age, around this time in 2020. And I was like, I think we're going to have this conversation, telling him like all police aren't necessarily good, even though that's what you have been taught. So I had to teach my son that. Watching his bubble burst, watching his innocence be lifted away from him and him just realize that, just because he looks a certain way, certain people are going to see him differently. And that's not his fault. That was a hard thing to navigate. And it was tough. It was stupid to record, but I did record it. So a lot of people chastised me for having that conversation. They told me I was, a bad father, and whatever. And then about a year later, my daughter was at the playground with the nanny. Our nanny's white. There was another family who was white at the park, and the little kids started screaming, the black kids are coming, they're bad, those are the bad guys, right? So my nanny freaks out and confronts the mother, like, what's going on here? And the mother was like, no, he was learning about Black history, and I think he just got confused. And she's like, what part of Black history is that? You know what I'm saying?
I don't remember that chapter.
Yeah. And so turns out we had to have a conversation with everybody, the whole family, and just say, hey, like, how do you guys feel what happened? And they were able to regurgitate what I said to them about who they were a while ago. They're like, it's just like that conversation you had when you said some people will see Black people and they don't think we're good. It was hard to have that conversation, but then I had to reaffirm what he believed about white people so that I made sure that he didn't think all white people were bad. That type of conversation in a Black house is foundational. We've all had it. We all have that conversation. And so I think that's the type of hard stuff we have to navigate. We have to teach our children about race. We have to be the first ones. We have to teach our children about sex, about being groomed. We have to be the first line of communication. Otherwise, we end up losing relational equity.
I remember watching that video, Glenn, and it's not your job to educate white people about the things that we don't understand. But I learned a lot from that video. I mean, I remember a lot of things I learned in 2020 that I didn't get, conversations Black parents were having in their house that it had never occurred to me. And was there sort of a changing point? You had already had a large social media presence. Did you feel an obligation both to help people see, maybe who weren't Black, like this is how it is, and also to protect your own family? What was that like for you that moment?
It was a little weird, man. 2020 was so weird because it was like, this is where we're going to make sure people understand who we are, blah, blah. And I just felt kind of icky. And so once I started to put myself out there, I realized that I was everybody's Black friend. Like it was only like 10 of us. And they're like, yo, we're going to put you on stage. We're going to have a conversation. I'm like, man, don't deploy my Blackness without protecting it. So I kind of got quiet and I pulled back a lot because while all that's happening outside in the world and we're fighting, my relationship with my children is getting icky, tough because I'm filming everything. And so my oldest is like, man, I don't really want to be on camera anymore. And so then I'm having another conversation in my home, trying to protect my family from the world and protect my children from my ambition. It was weird.
We were lucky enough to have Dr. Ibram Kendi on the podcast, and he made the point, which it hadn't even necessarily occurred to me in this way before, that these conversations are happening in Black families, and that if they're not happening in white families, you're having the problem that led to that playground. That like, well, we just sort of believe that we understand these things and we're good people in some fundamental way, but that if we as parents are not all dialing into these conversations, and this is with everything, as you said, about grooming and other things, these conversations are difficult, but if we skip them, someone will be having these conversations with our kids.
Yes.
It's better if it's you.
Yeah. Yeah. You've given over permission to influence your child because you decided not to have a conversation. You gave up ground. I think one of the coolest things that I've seen is watching my children watch me vote and then tell them that we don't judge people for how they vote. Watching how we interact with the unhoused community. Or I teach my children, we don't judge people for who they love. We have this like miraculous moments in my house where we allow them to think and we help them process. And that is so cool to be a part of.
We're talking to Glen Henry, and his new book is called Father Yourself First, and we'll be right back. Hellions, it's time for some spring cleaning, and I don't just mean the coat closets. Doing your financial spring cleaning can actually be super easy when you let Monarch do your financial spring cleaning for you. One dashboard that gets your entire financial life organized. No more clutter, no more mess, no more logins scattered everywhere, just accounts, investments, property, and more, all in one place. Get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $50 with promo code FRESH. Monarch allows you to look not only at what you've already spent, but also to plan for the future. With Monarch, you can set savings goals, plan for big purchases, and notice spending trends before they become a problem. I can generate cash flow reports that show me what we spent this quarter, this month, what we're probably going to spend next month, and feel prepared, organized, and knowing how to plan for the future. No more surprises and a lot more clarity. Try Monarch. Use code FRESH at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FRESH.
You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about, like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, and it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women, tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING.
So let's talk about this phrase, father yourself first. What does the phrase mean, and why is it the title of your book?
I realized that at some point I was so involved in being this parent by discovering what it's like to be a stay-at-home father, which was a whole nother conversation. But I realized, man, I am a very intentional, focused father. Like, I'm very focused. And there was a moment where my therapist was like, I was talking to him and I was frustrated about something with myself. And he was like, how come you don't give yourself as much grace as you give your children? He goes, don't you think you deserve that same grace? And I was like, yeah, man, but And he's like, no, I don't know. Like, why are you better to your kids than you are to yourself? And I was like, oh. And I started to kind of ponder with this thought and play with it. And I realized that in therapy, there's always comes a moment where you realize nobody's coming. Like, you are the person in the reinforcements you need.
I hate that feeling. I've said it so many times. I'm like, where is the person who's coming to fix this?
Yes.
Sadly, It's me.
It's me. I realized that I was waiting for my dad to be involved at this point. You know what I'm saying? Or like my mom to stop being mean or to grow up. And I realized that they weren't raised. They never applied the same lessons to themselves as they tried to teach me. At some point, I was just like, okay, I need to be the father I need. I need to change my inner voice from my mother's voice to my therapist's voice. I need to change my inner voice from my father's voice to my wife's voice. Like, I need to start to reconstruct this inner voice and be kinder to myself than I have been. Because what happens is, I don't know if we realize it, but as parents, our children get older and they become adults. And then we stop treating them like kids and we start manipulating and getting frustrated and throwing tantrums as older adults because we're not able to have our way with them. So we never really grow up. We just manage our immaturity until we can start lashing out again.
That's that household you were talking about in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Just getting through this torture, basically.
Yeah, just getting through it. But now you're seeing a lot of families and a lot of grown adults not talking to their parents anymore because they're just kind of like, dude, I'm over you. And I don't want to be that type of person. So it's like, okay, let's be mature. Let's address all the issues you have. Let's let your daughter sit and watch you figure it out. Let's have the hard conversations, not only with your children, but with yourself and say, why are you insecure about this? Why does your wife having so many friends, why does that bother you? What does that say about who you are? Like, what is the issue there? And so sometimes I'm like, yeah, I have an abandonment issue. Why do you have an abandonment issue? Because my dad wasn't in the home with me. Okay, well, why is that bothering you today? Like, what's the issue there? Do you believe that your wife is going to leave you? No, I don't. I just don't know what else to do. So I get insecure about it. And I say things. And it's like, no, you don't have to say that. Find your friends. There are other things for us to do as men. And I talk about how we build a men's community in the last part of the book, chapter 12, right? These are my people. And I talk about how to build a community. But there are a lot of things that kind of pop up out of nowhere in fatherhood. And you're just kind of like, oh my gosh, I have immaturity in me. There was one point my dad was hanging out over here and he was talking to me and just confiding in me. And I was starting to look at him and I was just like, oh my God, I'm jealous of you. I'm jealous that you have me in a way I never had you. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like immaturity. So I'm trying to figure that out. And I love having my dad around. It's definitely cool. But there was something about it where I was starting to be upset because I still need help. I'm still trying to figure out regular basic things. And I shouldn't be doing that. I feel like I should be set up better.
What I've always loved about your videos, your busy family getting ready in the morning and the little one doesn't want to get in the car seat or whatever, is you always seem to me to have vast reserves of patience that come from a great sense of humor, but also a deep understanding of like, this is who this one is. This is what this one needs. And this is what that one needs. I'm going to be a safe space for what they need right now in a way that's like hilarious, but also I really admire it. And so what I see from the outside is like, wow, you really are. You can give the person sitting opposite you, your parent or your child, exactly what you need, which is something a lot of us would really like to be able to do better.
Yeah. And one thing I noticed about that is I'm a patient father, but that doesn't mean I'm a patient husband. Doesn't mean I'm a patient employer. Doesn't mean I'm patient anywhere else. These attributes of fatherhood, like these things that work well in my home, can spread out in my humanity. Like the rest of the world can benefit from what I'm learning from my children. I don't have to be so reserved when I step outside because the world is cold. No, I can be a father everywhere. I'm not saying that I need to raise everybody, but I do have that authority and that comfort and that safety that a lot of people need. And I didn't really realize that. And so opening your home is going to be helpful for other people too, because some people just need that safe haven and be reminded that things can be different.
I want to talk a little bit more about that. Things can be different. I feel like one of the number one questions we get from our audience is, I was raised in a dysfunctional home. I was raised in a home where there wasn't a lot of love, where there might have been abuse, where I didn't feel a connection to my own parents. And that has led me to feel incapable now that I am a parent. Certain people were handed a toolbox by their parents. Mine was empty when I got it, and it makes me feel afraid, unworthy, incapable. These are a lot of people, probably mostly moms, who all they want is to be good parents, but they're so frightened or intimidated by this empty toolbox in their hands that they feel is empty. And so talk to those people about your journey and your experience. We've touched on some parts of it. To people who don't feel like they have those tools, where does it come from?
My little mantra I say to myself is, you don't have to be what you had. That is like so good for me to just remind myself, because I was hit a lot as a kid. I was a punching bag. What's so interesting about that is the way that I was hit led me to my first true prayer to God, which was kill me or kill her. Make up your mind. Why would you put me in a house like this? At 9 years old, that was my prayer. And so you have suicidal ideation, these thoughts that are massaged into a child. You grow up always knowing in the back of your mind that's an option. And it's so interesting now that I am a father and I display fatherhood in a certain way that makes people think, oh, I can be a parent. So what the enemy had said, okay, you're going to be struggling with this ideation for the rest of your life. I am now a proponent for more life. And so just that ministers to me. I remind myself of that when the anger pops up, because how it's supposed to go is I'm supposed to abuse my children like I was hit. That's how it's supposed to go. And I remind myself that, one, parenting is the opportunity of a lifetime. It is the most impactful role you will ever play because it will ripple throughout time. I'm not saying it's the most important. I think marriage is the most important role you play, but it's the most impactful role. So if you think about it, you have the opportunity of a lifetime to set a ripple into place that will go throughout time. You get to collaborate with God on his workmanship. You get to collaborate with God on his masterpiece, and then that masterpiece changes you. We're not talking about what you're capable of. We're talking about what God is capable of through you. When we think of it, I wasn't set up. I didn't have this. None of us are set up. David wasn't set up. Anybody in the Bible wasn't set up. All the ones that made it were like the ragtag, you know what I mean? Like one-offs. So I'm like, yo, I understand that is what you're choosing to believe right now, but that is not the truth. I think your experience with your situation gives you a better outlook at how you engage with your children because you are sensitive to where the problems lie. So I almost think that when you grow up with the perfect family and perfect father and perfect mother, it seemed like it would be harder because you don't really know the work that went into it. But there takes a level of work to control my anger, to have patience, to think about, man, this is so interesting. Like, I didn't even know one of my children is on the autism spectrum. I didn't know. I was like, man, that dude is tripping. You know what I'm saying? I'm having a hard time. My wife was like, no, babe, something's off here. We need to figure this out. I'm not saying something's wrong with him, but he's wired differently. So we need to figure this stuff out. And so I was kind of like, nah, we're good. He's hugging me all the time. He has a sensory processing issue. Like, I'm trying to figure out, and I don't like to be touched that much. And so I have to love him differently than I do the other children. It's just such good work. Parenting is good work. It's hard to say, okay, well, here's what you should do if you think like that, because I think each individual has a different belief when they start to say those things to themselves. And those thoughts and stuff are kind of massaged into their mind. And I think we should talk about the original issue. What's the issue? Were you abused? Was it something that you just didn't feel like you were accepted? And why do you think you're going to do that to your children? Like, what about your life tells you that that's who you are? Another thing is forgiving your parents for what they have done. And that's the hardest part, because I do feel like it kind of lives with us a little bit. And we think, oh, well, they're the standard or they're not the standard. So I'm going to just be better than them and I'm going to do it despite them. And it's like, the work is not against them. It's for you. There's so much growth and love and opportunity in parenting. And I can't believe it hasn't been talked about this much.
We're talking to Glen Henry. His new book is called Father Yourself First. More after this. All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that: taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence, all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE. My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEAMalibu.com. One of the things we were talking about on the break, and I loved about this book, is the importance of the role of the parent. And it's something that we talk a lot about as women. It's often dismissed work. Like, you can feel that feeling of, oh, you're just a mom. Like, oh, or the amount of work we put in, like baking the cake at Christmas or setting up the train set, that like, oh, that's silly women's work. That doesn't matter. And one of the things we talk a lot on the podcast is like, this is actually the most important work that happens in the world. Forming new humans, helping guide them. And one of the things that you talk about, and I was thinking as you were talking about your childhood, this idea of mentorship and men coming together. I have a person in my life who was raised in a very, very difficult situation. He sometimes watches me with my kids and will say, your kids are so well behaved and you've never hit them. Like, it is out of his worldview that you would be able to discipline or have behaving children without any physical violence.
Yeah.
And I think that the idea and the way that you express, you say your living room is your greatest stage. talk a little bit about how you mentor other people and how you've sought out mentorship, because that seems to be an important part of this formula that we're talking about breaking patterns.
Yeah. There's an African proverb, and it's each one teach one. Basically, it's about like, if you know something, then share it with the ones coming after you. And that was kind of the main thing for Pat Lynch when he let me into his home, the pastor. He gave me so much grace and so much understanding. He would say things to me, and I'd be like, man, how'd you get her to listen to you? $5, $7 now. Like, what do you, and he goes, well, you got to understand there's a difference between a command and a demand. And I'm like, what? He's like, when you ask somebody to do something out of a place of love, they know and trust is for their benefit and the benefit of the family. When you demand someone to do something, it is more of a request that comes with a consequence. And so like, he's teaching me different things about communication and life that I don't even think about. For instance, when I tell the children, like right now, they came downstairs, they were loud. We had to pause the podcast for a second. And the conversation after this is like, hey, so I noticed you guys were loud during the podcast. That's totally fine. It's the house. But is this who we are becoming? Like, I asked you guys to be quiet. Is this who you want to become? Someone I can't trust and I got to put you in your room while I'm doing a podcast? The question is like, who do you want to become? Not why are you behaving like this? And the question for me is, why am I getting frustrated about something that's natural? And is this really a bother, in the podcast? Like, we have to weigh all those things together. But the question for me to ask them is like, okay, well, who are you becoming? And so when I think about that, I think about mentorship. You don't need a perfect mentor. You just need someone further along than you are, who you might have to pass in order to become who you're becoming. So you want to find good fathers, good mothers. You want to find good wives, good husbands, good employers, good CEOs, good whatever, right? You want to find people who are doing the work, and you want to ask them about their discipline and their habits so you can understand how they make the decisions they make. And seeing that 10 steps ahead of you, 2, 5, 6 years ahead of you or whatever is really important. And so I would challenge us to find or open the door for those people who are in our lives, who are younger than us or coming from where we come from, and give them access to our lives. Every Saturday morning, I meet with a group of Black men, free on Zoom, just 7 a.m. PST. Black men, we meet up and I give them a safe place to fall apart, a safe place to land. We talk about whatever. We talk offline. So if someone's having an emergency, they can call me. Every first Saturday of the month, we meet with couples and we mentor couples. We have 5 couples that we mentor on Saturday mornings, and we have other couples wanting to mentor other couples. So I think having a mentor couple, having fathers in your life, mothers in your life is really important. I do believe Yvette and I would have gotten a divorce if it wasn't for her mentor, 100%. Because there was a point where my wife couldn't see me. She couldn't see me, she couldn't see us. I was able to notice when my ambition was getting away from me and causing a problem in our relationship, but she couldn't see it for her. And so I was trying to explain to her how well I wasn't doing and how I was ready to leave. And this was recently. This was at the beginning of 2024. She got a mentor in her life that just told her the truth. You know what I'm saying? I was like, babe, what could I have said to you to get you to understand what was happening? Because I was trying to be as gracious. She was like, I don't think you could have said anything. She's like, I just wasn't there. I needed to hear from another woman. That hurt me, right? So that brings up my insecurity because I feel like I'm not enough or I can't communicate to my wife. I praise God for the fact that she had that person in her life to just say, hey, you're tripping. You are off and you need to adjust this immediately. She told her something that she didn't want to hear. The decision seemed like it was a bad decision until we realized, oh, we made a really good decision for our family. So I don't know how to convince you that mentors are the way to go. But I would just say that community is extremely important and we all need a coach. You have a coach for basketball or any sport you're playing, you have a manager at work, all that stuff. You need somebody in your life to help you with these really interesting and important roles you play. Father, mother, wife, husband.
And who is a little bit differently than a therapist, it seems to me, willing to call you out sometimes or tell you what you need to hear, cut through it, right? It wasn't just that this is all about your self-growth. It's about, you don't see this, and I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, like a therapist would be like, well, why do you think that is going to happen if it's never happened before? A mentor would be like, that was dumb. You know what I'm saying? And they save so much time and money.
We could cut to the chase a little bit more. So tell us, you've been giving us a lot of amazing advice from this wise place. I want to know what's going crazy in your house, where it's gone off the rails, because a lot of the stuff you do is a lot of humor.
Yeah.
We've been having a more serious conversation, but tell us a little bit about the moments where it's all gone wrong and you're like, forget the book. I don't know what the heck I'm talking about.
You know, like some Disney movies, it seems like there's a princess and then like birds and like squirrels are like talking to her and like
doing their dishes. I want those squirrels.
We have the opposite of that, where there are like scorpions in our house. There are snakes coming up at our front door. Rattlesnake I just had to remove.
Oh,
Toads, frogs, all types of wildlife, coyotes.
but not the good kind.
Not cute.
Not the good kind.
We
Not
try
the
not
cute
to
one.
judge God's creatures, but there's a
Right.
difference between a beautiful, loving, dish-doing squirrel and a scorpion.
Yeah. And like they are in the house. I don't know how they're getting in here. And so that is kind of like my biggest plight right now. It's kind of like, I keep calling pest control. I keep trying to figure this out. And it's just like, I can't get the hang of it. So another thing about being a parent is like the roles never end. I watch my wife, she's giving a lot of affection. And then, you know, all of a sudden she's teaching and then she's a nurse and then she's driving and then she's cooking. And then because I shared those roles with her, I do all those things as well. But exterminator, we both have to play that. If I'm not here, she has to get whatever bug is in the house out of the house, and the whole house is screaming, the dog's barking. It's a mess.
I am all for gender equality, but I call my husband when there's a bug in the house. I'm not going to lie. I'm equal in every way, except for when the cat brings in a half-dead bird. Then he's got to come home from work.
Yeah, there are certain animals I'm out. You know what I mean? Like most are cool. I had a raccoon raise up on me, like just stand and start walking toward me. I'm like, all right.
I've seen that with those mean teeth.
Yeah, this is where I draw the line right here. You know?
You're like, this is my limit. If you were looking for it, this is it. Rabid raccoon.
Everybody run. Right. Everyone outrun me because I'm gone.
Kids, good luck with the raccoon because I'm going.
Exactly.
Glenn, can you tell us what you want your readers, male and female, to take away from this book?
Yeah, I hope that you can be kind to yourself. You can be as gentle as your father was or should have been to you. You can retrain your inner voice to be loving, caring, supportive, and then put people around you who also support that. That's what I hope that people get from the book, as well as the process and the importance of Black life and showing that, as well as the taking and going on adventures with your family. And,
I loved that part. We didn't get to it, but there's a beautiful part about what an adventure does for a family that really lit me up.
Right. And so every time there's a rattlesnake or a scorpion, that's kind of a little bit of an adventure, you know, and we're able to recall that. There's so much that has happened since I wrote the book that I'm just like, man, I wish I could add another chapter just real quick. But there's a lot in there, and I'm hoping that people can just really take for themselves and just really be kind for themselves.
I have a feeling we're going to be reading more books from you in the future because this one was really great.
Thank you.
And it reminds me, it's the expression, light someone's candle, change the world. It's like you're just giving people something and then they're going to give it to other people. It really moved me, this book.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Glen Henry's new book is called Father Yourself First. We'll put the link in the show notes so you can buy the book. You can buy the book wherever you get books. Glen, tell our listeners about your YouTube channel, Instagram, everywhere they can find you.
So Black men out there, if you have a desire to meet, you're going to fall apart, you got some things to say, you don't know what to say, you don't know how to say it. Saturday mornings, we meet every Saturday morning, 7 a.m. on Zoom. Hit me up on Instagram, BELEAFMEL, Belief Mel on Instagram, and I'll give you the Zoom link. Belief in Fatherhood on YouTube, Belief in Family on TikTok. Just telling good stories. You know, I think the world needs good stories of Black life, and that's all I'm trying to do.
Glen, thanks so much for talking to us today. This was an awesome conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Glen.